true beauty comes from. It comes from in the center of your heart. They feel you before they see you. That is always true. People always feel you before they see you. And I realized this years ago when I was one of the only women training at the gym that I was training at. I was going through this time period where I was getting a lot of unwanted attention from the men around in the gym, while I was moving, while I was like, trying to be confident in like the way that I'm moving my body in space. I was feeling uneasy. And I remember realizing that it doesn't matter how people are perceiving you on the outside. It just matters how you are radiating out. And so that applied to the way that people see beauty as well. You can meet beautiful people. There's beautiful people all over all the time, externally beautiful people. But sometimes you get to talking to them and they're really not as beautiful. What makes a person like truly beautiful? And a lot of that is like, do you feel calm? Do you feel at peace in this person's presence? Are they present? Like, when you don't feel safe and at peace around people, you don't perceive them as being beautiful, right? Like, you go into your stress response, you feel tense, and so what is the true definition of beauty? I guess everybody has their own definition, but I always just remind my sister of that, and I try to remind myself of that too when I go out into the world, that your beauty really radiates from the center of your heart, and it flows out, it expands out into the entire room like a light. And people really do, they feel you before they see you. And it's interesting too when you start to think of this, like, you see yourself differently. I see myself, maybe I'll just talk about me. I see myself differently in the mirror all the time, and we see ourselves based on like what our hormones are doing and how we're feeling at that particular moment. So you might feel really good about yourself. I might feel really good about myself after I've done a workout, and then if somebody insults me in public or something, I might feel like real like whacked up and like not as confident about myself, And also, like, I was born with cataracts, so I see you differently than somebody else who doesn't have cataracts, Different people see you differently all the time, and you see yourself differently all the time, so that beauty is constantly like, it's constantly changing, but it's more like an energetic presence. And I was talking to one of my clients the other day who was telling me, like, oh, I'm so proud, like, I lost, 5 pounds on the scale, and I always talk about it with people, I'm like, put the scale away, it doesn't matter, because that 5 pound difference, like, that's coming from you. Nobody in the world is going to look at you and say, oh my God, you look so good, you lost that 5 pounds. Like, no, you don't really see that somebody lost 5 pounds, and I personally cannot look at someone and say they look 5 pounds lighter, they look 5 pounds heavier. I might look at you and say, wow, you look happier, and when it comes to working out and being like really tunnel visioned with the scale, I think that was a big part of my journey with they feel you before they see you too. It just matters that you are feeling better within yourself because that energy is radiating outward. And two, another thing with hormones is that I always talk about this, but your cells are listening to you, your thoughts, like the thoughts that you have about your body. So like if I'm all dressed up, I always tell my sister, especially when she's dressed up and she's going somewhere, because we tend to nitpick the way that we're looking when we dress up and when we're going out and whatnot. And like those thoughts, like the thoughts that you have about yourself, if you're nitpicking at yourself, like your cells in your body is listening to you, like our bodies are so intelligent. Like they didn't ask you, they're not checking with you on this heartbeat situation. They're not checking with you on this digestion capacity or the blink rate that you have or the respiratory rate that you have. Your body is doing its own thing all on its own. Your immune system fighting tons of bacteria and viruses, cancer cells all the time. Didn't need your permission, didn't need your okay to say, look, we're going to go ahead and do this. No, it just does it on its own. And the more that you think good things about your body, like my body is strong, it's beautiful, it's radiating outwards, it's radiating beauty radiating. It's overfloweth your cup. You know, your cells love to hear that. It's like plants, you know, and they've actually done studies with plants, like people going and about to like clip a plant. The plant actually, the cells, like they hook up, you know, because our body's made of energy. It's made of voltage. That's why we eat food for sodium, calcium, potassium, magnesium. Like these elements that we eat, these electrolytes, micronutrients, they all have a charge on them. If you look at them like the periodic table, all of it has a charge. So the body, the cell holds a charge. And when we're in the stressed out state, this charge becomes distorted. It becomes chaotic, you know, and then we get into the entire nervous system becomes chaotic, you know. And so in order to get back grounded, that's why I'm always talking about the amino acids, getting plenty of those, getting plenty of minerals in the diet so that you can put the body and the cells back at a place of peace. But also it's a mindset too, you know. You want to say good things to your body because you're the only one, you know, who can. You're like, you're your own CEO, your own best friend. And if you're speaking all these negative things to yourself, like people feel that, you know, they feel you before they see you. If you are thinking a bunch of negative things about yourself, people are subconsciously picking up on this. And they're like, I don't know about that person. They seem kind of negative, you know. But, you know, if you're real positive and loving, people pick up on that as well. And, you know, I just had a huge difference in my interactions out in the world with people once I started to really remember this. They feel you before they see you. I just remember how, like, people appeared nicer because I was, like, starting to be nicer to myself, I guess, you know. Like, people were holding the door for me and, you know, I don't know, it's just different circumstances. And now, like, I work in a restaurant, you know, too, so I'm always constantly interacting with people, and I have clients. You're constantly interacting with people in different ways, and so you can start to notice, like, what are these thoughts that I'm thinking about myself? Like, is it a reflection out in the world? Is that what I'm getting out in the world? And if, you know, and if it's not so positive, then, you know, sometimes there's always work to be done. There's always work to be done, and we can't be perfect all the time. We go through seasons like winter and summer in our mindset, and I definitely go through winters and summers in my mindset as well. But one thing that always helps me is saying I am gaining strength by the day. I am becoming healthier and stronger by the day. Because even if I don't immediately believe that I am the strongest and healthiest version of myself, that I am the most beautiful version of myself, I am manifesting that in the long term. So I am trying to initiate that for tomorrow. I'm going to be stronger and more well rested, and, you know, whatever you want, you know, like, my body is more toned tomorrow. I am constantly working to find this restoration and calmness by tomorrow, by the day, by the breath, you know. So anyway, those were just some thoughts circulating in my mind. I do hope that it's helpful for you in some way. If it is, you are more than welcome to like, share, and subscribe. Share it with your grandparents. I always talk about grandparents because, you know, as we get older, like, our biochemistry reflects the aging process. You know, it reflects insulin resistance, it reflects depression. You know, aging is a disease. There's a lot of doctors who talk about this. David Sinclair is one of those scientists. He talks about this, but, you know, it's extra love for our older people, extra love for those people that are going through image changes that, you know, I think it can sometimes be harder to get older, and, you know, why not build strength in the age, you know? Our wisdom builds with age, so why not always build strength, you know? Anyway, hope this is helpful for you. Until next time, good luck.